Good morning and welcome to this meeting, Licences Subcommittee. I'm Michelle Parker, Legal Executive Advising for the committee. I'm obliged to inform you that this meeting is being live recorded and live streamed, and the members of the public can watch the live stream. At the start of the meeting, I will ask members of the committee, officers and those making representations to introduce themselves. Everyone that speaks during the meeting is asked to introduce themselves each time they speak, so those listening know who is speaking. To ensure those watching the live stream can hear, could all participants ensure they switch on their microphone while speaking prior to speaking? So can I ask the members to introduce themselves, please?
So that's Councillor Nigel Lumby from Albrighton Ward.
Councillor Susie from Bridge North East Ward.
Councillor Colin Taylor from Bridge North South and Alverley.
Can I ask officers to introduce themselves, please?
Tim Ward, Committee Officer.
Ross O'Neill, Licensing Officer.
Can I ask the applicant to introduce themselves?
David Gregg, I'm the applicant.
We shall now turn to the items on the agenda. Are there any nominations for position of chairman?
Colin Taylor, Bridge North South and Alverley. I nominate Councillor Nigel Lumby to be chairman.
Can I ask for a seconder, please?
Yes, Councillor Susie from Bridge North East, I second that.
Okay, so I'm chair. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming, everybody. The committee has read and considered the representations and evidence submitted by all the parties in relation to the application. Therefore, presentations should be succinct and kept to a brief summary of key points. There is no need to read out written representations or reiterate the details of written representations at great length. The chair will intervene if it is felt that presentations are becoming overly long, are going off track, or do not relate to the application being considered. The procedure for the hearing has been sent to you prior to the hearing. In general, we will aim to keep to this order of business to ensure the timely and fair conduct of the hearing for all parties. If it is felt necessary during the course of the hearing, the committee may make the decision to deviate from the procedure. This will be at the committee's discretion. There are opportunities throughout the hearing for each party to ask questions of others following their presentations. Please ensure that you use this opportunity to ask questions only and not to make any further points or statements. It is for the chair to decide if questions are appropriate and relate to the matter in hand. Any behaviour considered to be disruptive by the chair may lead to parties being muted or asked to leave the hearing. Does anybody have any questions regarding the hearing process or how the hearing will be conducted? No, thank you. So, a question for the licensing officer. Have any of the representations been withdrawn?
No, Chair.
Would any party present like to withdraw their representations? Does any party have any evidence not already submitted which they would like to be put forward to consideration? Please be aware that this can only be done with the agreement of all the other parties present and the subcommittee, and may necessitate the hearing being adjourned so it can be properly considered by all the parties and subcommittee. Yes, can you press the right-hand button for the microphone? Thank you. And say who you are as well, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Caroline John. I'm here both in a personal capacity and as a member of the committee of the Shrewsbury Town Centre Residents Association. You'll have had representations already in writing from all of us and the association. And I will be asking, if I may, for clarification on some points which we were unable to consider until we'd seen the full pack of papers. I can assure you that they are all fully related to the licensing process. Will that be in order?
Yes, that seems. I'll say if we start straying from something that's out the boundaries. Thank you. Members are reminded to disclose any registrable or non-registrable interest in any matters to be discussed. If following the declaration of an interest, any party feels a member's decision making may be prejudiced, they should make it known. The hearing may then need to be adjourned so the committee can be reappointed. Anything? No, no. Thank you.
May I ask a question, please? I'm Christopher Bibb, also from the Shrewsbury Town Centre Residents Committee Association. Is there any form of pecuniary interest that the subcommittee might like to make with regard to this application, since they control, the council controls planning, licensing, and indeed will be presumably securing rent from this premises which they own?
Thank you. I will ask legal advice on that, but if I can just say that we're councillors forming part of the council, but we're not actually the council. So we have an independent side to it.
There is a pecuniary interest, and I've not seen it stated anywhere, and it wasn't stated.
Hey, thank you.
So.
I'm told that as councillors we do not directly benefit from it, so it's not a pecuniary interest.
It would seem that there's clearly a pecuniary interest. You control both planning, licensing, and you own the property in question.
You've had my answer, and I got that from legal representation, so thank you anyway. Can the licensing officer introduce themselves and present their report then, please?
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. So I'm Ross O'Neill, Public Protection Officer, working within the licensing team and responsible for today's report. So you're here today to consider a new premises licence application which has been applied for by Capital Bars Frankwell Limited at Rowley's Mansion Courtyard. Appendix A and B of the report are a map and photographs to help set the scene for you. The applicant proposes to open an outdoor cafe bar with movable bar and food vendor within the court and an unlicensed seating area to allow the consumption of food and drink. Appendix C and D of the report are the submitted application and the plan of the premises. During consultation, representations were received off the police, trading standards and environmental protection, which have all since been withdrawn following agreements to conditions and/or times. Appendix E is the consolidated document to show all agreed conditions to date. Environmental Protection did submit a more formal representation on the last day of consultation rather than a request to amend the times, and I've included that as well, Appendix F. Although since it's been withdrawn, it's included in the report for you to have a look at. There were 5 representations received off other persons in relation to the application. All have been given the benefit of the doubt as per the 182 guidance to allow them to amplify their concerns today, and none of the 5 have been withdrawn. Appendix G is a map to show locations of the representations, while Appendix H are the submitted representations in full for you to consider. So why are you here today? You're here to consider and determine the application, and to do this you must give appropriate weight to the steps that are necessary to promote the 4 licensing objectives, any representations, the 182 guidance, the Licensing Act 2003, and Shropshire Council's Licensing Policy 2024 to 29. You then may grant the application in full or in part, subject to such conditions deemed necessary and appropriate for licensing objectives. You may refuse if deemed appropriate under the 4 licensing objectives, but you must remember the decision must be justified and provide supporting evidence to all parties involved, and the decision can be appealed within 21 days of all parties receiving the decision. That's it for that, Chair.
Thank you. You'll all now have an opportunity to ask any relevant questions of the licence officer. The order I will take the questions is the applicant, other persons, and then the committee. So applicant, then please, if you can just state who you are again. Thank you.
David Gregg. No questions for the licence officer, Chair.
Thank you. Other persons making representations?
Yes, Christopher Bibb, Shrewsbury Town Centre Residents Association. Is it possible for Appendix E to be displayed on the board so that the members of the public can see the extent of the condition, pre-agreed conditions?
We're just having a look at that. Just for clarification, Mr. O'Neill, how long would all the documents relating to this have been up on the internet available for all the members of the public?
They go to committee services, Chair, so I believe it's about a week before, but committee services would have to clarify.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure that the members of the public can see that, but they're quite extensive. Could the licensing officer summarise the purpose of these pre-agreed conditions? What do they seek to achieve?
These are conditions that were put forward by the applicant on the application form, and then these are also conditions that the authorities have agreed with the applicant during consultation.
And they are presumably to controlling policing and safeguarding of the members of the public. That's essentially what these are about. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the 4 licence objectives. So each authority has looked at it from their point of view. So, for example, the crime and disorder is from the police. The police have obviously assessed the application, and that's what they deem necessary to withdraw their representations.
Okay, I'm a little confused because these seem to apply to the licensed area, which on the plan, which we can't see at the moment, is a small part of the courtyard. It's not relating to the seating area. So I wonder how the courtyard will be policed and how the public will be safeguarded, because there's no point of entry to police. So anyone could sidle up. So I don't know how age verification of the members of the public that wish to sit in the seating area, whether they buy drinks or food, I don't know how that can be enforced. They could be drunk, they could turn up with drugs, they could be selling drugs. I can't see how this can be policed. There's no fencing around the seating area. And if I look at another licensed premises about 100 metres away, 10 and Sixpence, which you may be aware of, They have fencing around their similar development, which enables policing, and I believe that was a condition of the grant of the licence in their case. So I'm just wondering how the public can believe that this will be adequately policed and safeguarded when it is an area, a permeable area, where members of the public can just drift in and out. I can't see that that can be effectively policed.
I'm not sure that's a question for me. I'm not a police officer.
It's a question for everyone here.
You will have your chance to speak when you get a chance to say your report. I can't ask and answer questions on behalf of the police.
If you remember, Mr. Bibb, this is a question you're asking the licensing officer, because that's the process we're going through.
Okay.
So you'll have opportunity to ask anybody else. What I will say is that the police are not here because they are now comfortable with what the licence says.
Yes, I have a further question about that, because the actual application is seemingly amended by the licensing officer, because his statement then refers to off sales in the seating area. And I'm wondering whether the police were commenting on an area that would be fenced, which was suggested in the original, the proper application, the formal application, or whether the police were also considering the subsequent amendments from the licensing officer's statement.
The application, part of the application, in the top of the application and the conditions, there was an error on the application where he's ticked the wrong box, but from the application, the plan, it is clearly seen what the application is trying to achieve. Again, it's a question for the police, and I get what you're saying, but these are not questions I can answer. The police have assessed the application accordingly, and these are not questions for me.
We've had private discussions with the police, and I have reason to believe that they were not aware of the amendments that you are speaking of now. And I don't believe that the police believe that this can be properly policed.
Who is this from the police you've spoken to?
I'm not prepared to say.
Okay, well, I can't answer the question, can I?
The reason I'm not prepared to say is because they have jobs. They've withdrawn their application because I don't believe they've withdrawn it knowing that the seating area will be impermeable. I can't see how it can be policed, and I don't. When we spoke with them, we were not expecting it to be unfenced.
Who did you speak to in the police?
I think that would be prejudicial because he's,
Mr. Bibb, perhaps if you save that question for the applicant, maybe there may be some clarity, because at the moment you're asking the licence officer who is not within his remit. So let's try and move along. You can't ask that now. No.
Well, perhaps you can.
No, there is an order that I intend to follow. So if you can just park that for a second,
okay,
till the applicant has spoke, then you'll get the opportunity to speak to the applicant. Okay, thank you. Any other persons?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For Mr. O'Neill, the licensing officer, as I explained, we did not see the full pack of documents until after all our representations had gone in. So we were not able to formulate or offer these comments earlier. And so there are a number of questions. Has the licensing officer got any comment to make about the fact that at section 1 of the application, the applicant has put across in the both box where the premise has no indoors, and this is the late night refreshment one, box I. What indoors is envisaged here?
Indoors, on the application, so you've got indoors and outdoors. Obviously, clearly the plan shows that it is an outdoor facility.
Yes.
But under the Licensing Act, it's all to do with late night refreshments is where the appropriation of the food takes place, or where it's given to the person that's purchased it. So you could say that the food is going to be prepared indoors because it's actually in the cart. So to have indoors and outdoors, it doesn't really change the application. So if the food's given to the food vendor and they've consumed it outside, for clarity, it works both ways.
Well, okay, I think that's a bit of an odd explanation personally, but I will let that pass. Nobody's going to go into the caravan where the food is prepared. They may be under some sort of canopy. I wouldn't count that as being indoors. However, I'll move on. With reference to box J on the application form, with the A licensing officer, please confirm that the application is for an on licence only and that no off licence sales are applied for. Now, as I said, we had not at the stage when we formulated these questions seen the full pack, which means that in your explanation, in your paper, in your report to the committee, the applicant, you write, the applicant has made clear in part 3 of the application and the plan that the seating area is for consumption. For this to be achieved, both on and off sales are required with a condition to prevent alcohol being removed from Rowley's Court Mansion, and your proposed condition is attached. When I picked all these papers up, what I tried to do was work through from the application, through the various papers, to where I thought this would be at the end. And when an application is made for this or any other formal legal permission, the applicant signs in blood his life away to say, this is true, this is what I want, this is what I am committing myself to. And a lot of the conditions that the applicant offers are contained, as you said, in your list of conditions. The plan has not been updated. The licensed area is now changing. The nature of the license is now changing from that which the applicant stated he wanted. This seems to me a major change of direction, which has been made essentially by the council advising the applicant. There was no additional map provided, no additional location map or plan of the premises, which means that it was very difficult for us to see where the licensed area was. It clearly says in the guidance that the proposed licensed area must be edged in red. Now, there is no revised plan edging something in red that says, actually, we were going to do this as our licensed area, and now we're going to do that. So I don't think this was fully transparent, either to the members of the committee who are tasked with considering this application, or to the members of the public, including ourselves, who were reading it and trying to understand what was going on. And I really feel quite aggrieved about the fact that there appears to be no stage in the process for the applicant to say, well, either I'll withdraw this and try again, because clearly we need to reframe it, which would be an option, or for him to submit an amendment which made absolutely clear what his intentions now are, regardless of the conditions you intend to impose. So I would criticise the process that has been gone through on that basis.
So can I answer?
Reply to that?
Yes, I'll reply. So for clarity, Chair, so the applicant's put an application in and he clearly has put in the top what he intends for the application, how to proceed with it. And then there's also a plan of the premises, which we haven't had an updated plan because the plan shows a clear red lined area and a seating area for consumption. As you do go further down the application, he has ticked the wrong box. He has ticked on sales. But when you look at the application, his intentions to me are clear from the plan and the description that he wants to license a small area and to have the consumption area of food and drink in that courtyard. So I appreciate what members of the public are saying. And if you believe, as the chair and as the committee, that my report shouldn't have contained that and he's clearly ticked the wrong box, then obviously that's something that you as the chair and the committee need to consider.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. No, hold on. No, I'm the chair, sorry. Yes. So in 7.2 of the officer's report, it says the applicant has made, so this has been in the public domain for over a week. So the applicant has made it clear in part 3 of the application and the plan that the seating area is for consumption. For this to be achieved, both on and off sales are required with a licensing condition to prevent alcohol being removed from Rowley's Court Mansion. To read, the consumption of off sales is to be restricted to the courtyard as per the yellow section of the plan. So whilst I appreciate what you say as to whether the right or wrong box was ticked, it is abundantly clear to me as a member that we're on the right lines here and we've had enough time to think of it as to what it is. So if you want to continue with what you wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm reassured that you have, but I still don't agree, and I think the process could have been made more transparent. Let's move on to music, if I may. Noise from all sorts of premises around the town is of huge concern to STCRA members and other residents alike. And I have no judgment to make as to whether this is going to be a particularly noisy or a very subtle situation at all. I'm not prejudging that. However, and I do understand from the guidance and the Act that if you have a licence for alcohol, you don't then need a separate entertainment licence. Nevertheless, it would have been more transparent and clearer had the applicant answered the question in box, whatever it is, I forget, E and F, by saying, yes, there will be music. The fact that he wouldn't need a separate licence, the fact that there may not be conditions is irrelevant. It is a declaration of what is going to happen. And the only indication that there is going to be music is his commitment that it will not be a nuisance. And I feel that, again, the application was slightly defective in its absence of a commitment to what sort of music it was going to be. And I'm disappointed that the licensing officer did not ask for those boxes to be ticked as appropriate. Thank you.
Sorry, is that a question? Is that just a statement?
Well, I welcome your comments and your observations on that.
Again, if we go back to the plan of the premises, the red line at the back of the premises where the applicant's put that he wants a bar and a food vendor.
Red line.
We talk about music. Yes. So I'm going to try and answer the question, but if you want to interrupt me, I can't answer it.
Please continue.
Thank you. So the plan of the premises, the red line, if the red line was to take the whole of the Rowley's Court up, that would mean that the on sales for that area would also include recorded music.
Yes.
Now, as you've just said, the concern you've got is in relation to music. So if that red line was to take up the whole boundary, where that yellow line is as well on the plan, and the applicant was to have the application granted today by the committee, he would then be entitled to have a DJ, recorded music, in that area. So only licensing part of that premises, i.e. the back part, and having the other area for consumption only, doesn't give him the privilege to have recorded music in that section. So the application, what he's put on the application, it's the applicant's application form, and he's the applicant who proposes what he puts forward and what he ticks on the application in relation to any music. But the deregulation allows live music to take place in that area, but it doesn't allow recorded music to take place.
I absolutely understand that. What I'm saying is that I'm disappointed that the application form, which the applicant signs and you scrutinise and discuss with the applicant, did not say in the appropriate boxes that there would be or not be live music or recorded music, regardless of whatever licence conditions you chose to put on it or whatever deregulation you are to be applying. The fact is, it doesn't say you don't have to fill in these boxes if you are filling in block box X for alcohol licensing. It asks a straightforward question: will there be live music? Will there be recorded music? And there was no box ticking on those sections of the form.
I think you've just made it.
Can I just clarify, Chair, that on the application you apply for a licensable activity. So if someone applies for something that's not licensable, if you take off all the different realms towards the alcohol and the late night refreshments, then there wouldn't be an application. We wouldn't be sat here today. So I appreciate what you're saying. There's a box for live music, there's a box for recorded music, but it's what's licensable that needs to be considered.
I think that concludes my major questions. I'm not fully happy that we've ended up with a totally transparent and accessible system for members of the public.
Excuse me, I think you're making another statement, so thank you. We need to move on. Right, committee, any questions you want to ask of the licensing officer? No? Okay, thank you. Can the applicant introduce themselves and present their application then, please, Mr. Gregg?
Thank you, Chair. So I'm David Gregg. I've got over 30 years experience in the hospitality industry. Originally from Shrewsbury. After getting my degree, I then went on to work all across the UK before returning to Shropshire in 2008. Since then, I've operated a number of venues in both Shrewsbury and Telford, as well as serving as a founding board member of Shrewsbury Bid. I'm currently the vice chair of Shrewsbury Pub Watch, and I'm also co-founder of Shrewsbury Loop Fest. So with that background, I feel that I fully understand the responsibilities that come with holding a premise licence and also maintaining strong relationships both with responsible authorities and also the wider community. In essence, for Rowley's Mansion Courtyard, our vision is to create a well-managed, respectful and vibrant space that contributes positively to Shrewsbury's town centre. And I feel that we've taken care to include appropriate conditions in our application to support the licensing objectives. I think it's important to note that although the proposed venue will be operated by the same management team behind Albert Shed live music venue on Barker Street, the courtyard will function as a completely separate entity with a distinct style and offer. The management team brings a wealth of experience in hospitality and licensed trade with a proven track record of delivering well-run venues, including live music spaces and also premium bar restaurants. So I feel that the team has got the operational and the managerial expertise required to operate the space responsibly. From the outset with this application, we have taken a proactive and collaborative approach with the responsible authorities under the Licensing Act. So we actually arranged pre-application discussions with the key bodies, including what I used to refer to as public protection, I think they're environmental protection now, West Mercia Police and licensing officers from both the council and the police, just to ensure that they had early visibility of our plans and also to invite feedback on how best we could support the licensing objectives. Then following the submission and application, we've continued to maintain those lines of communication. We've provided further operational detail where requested and also responded constructively to feedback. And where additional conditions were suggested by those authorities, these were discussed, negotiated, and ultimately they're accepted. And I think that is clear from the quite substantial list of conditions that now apply to this application. Our aim has always been to work constructively with the local authorities just to ensure that this application is understood and appropriately conditioned and aligned with best practice. We're fully aware that the Licensing Act places great emphasis on promoting the four objectives, and that's why this application has been designed with those in mind. I could go into each of the licensing objectives and what I feel that we've included in order to support that, but I think that it probably isn't the best use of our time today. They're clearly set out in the application. I'm more than happy to answer questions from either the committee or members of the public if they want specific detail on those. Would that be acceptable, Chair?
You've got a press.
Yeah, okay. I think that the main thing that I'm keen to get across today is that we are not looking to open a beer garden. We're not looking to extend our existing venue, namely Albert Shed. What we're trying to do is create a cafe, which, yes, we do want to be able to sell alcohol as well, because I think that that's kind of what people want. I think if you look at probably the continental model, where you go into villages and towns in France where you've got outside areas where people sit and, you know, maybe read the paper, drink a coffee, eat a pastry, and yes, they might choose to have a glass of wine or a beer as well. That's what we're trying to aim for. We're not looking to create a rowdy beer garden. We're looking to improve what is become, and obviously we see this on a daily basis, that area and the courtyard particularly has become quite a negative, it presents quite a negative image of Shrewsbury Town Centre in terms of the people that are frequenting it and the state of the building itself and the courtyard. That's all I've got.
Thank you. You'll now have the opportunity to ask any relevant questions of the applicant. The order I'll take questions in is licensing officer, other persons and committee. So licensing officer.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question. As everyone can see from the board, you've asked for alcohol sales till 11, and then they cease, and then from 11 till 3 on the Friday and Saturday you want late night refreshments. Can you just give us a bit more detail of what the business model is for that reason?
Yes, certainly. The intention is to operate a bar during the daytime, and also food, and then at weekends we are looking to also provide takeaway food for people that are in the area already. There's currently a distinct lack of food outlets in that area, and it's a well-established fact that consuming food when people have been drinking is a good thing. It's a positive benefit.
Thank you. No more questions, Chair.
Thank you. So who wants to go first then? Thank you.
Yes, my question remains how these conditions can be met, how they can be policed, and how the public can be safeguarded when the seating area is permeable. Anyone can mosey up. I don't see how that age verification can take place, or indeed any other of the responsibilities that the security personnel would need to take. There are no doors, so there's no one on the doors controlling access. And I also worry about what if people take drink away and just walk around the streets, because I think that's illegal, is it not? So how are you going to prevent people from buying drinks and then moving away into the car parks and just through the town? So I don't see how this can be properly policed. And that's the key question that
well, you've asked a few questions there, perhaps now going into statements. So do you want to see if the applicant can answer either of them?
Surprisingly, yes, I would.
In answer to the question, how would it be policed? The plans clearly show that a fence will be erected where there's currently a small wall. During peak trading hours, so for example, a Friday and a Saturday night when we would expect it to be busier, we'll have SIA registered doors, supervisors and able.
There are no doors.
Doesn't need to be a door, there's an opening.
With respect, it talks about decorative fencing and planting. Yeah. That is not an impermeable fence, the like of which was insisted upon outside 10 and sixpence. So there seems to be a great big inconsistency with regard to it, the way the licensing is imposed.
Mr. Gregg, if you can sort of answer what sort of fence it is and how many entrances there will be that are not controlled by the fence.
Okay, so there'll be one gap in the fence that would be the position where door supervisors, and they are called door supervisors regardless of whether there's a door present, would man. There will also be another one which would be for vehicular access and also emergency exit. During the days or when it was quieter, then it would be up to staff to ensure that people don't take drinks out, which is no different to any pavement licence or beer gardens with access to the road. So to give a local example, the Shrewsbury Hotel just around the corner, there's a very similar situation there. What we're proposing to do is to have a fence as well, because we want to control who enters that area.
So presumably in your planning application, which we haven't yet seen, you will be giving details of the fencing, and it will probably be similar to that was required for 10 and sixpence. Is that correct? Are you undertaking to provide substantial fencing so that this policing is possible?
Yes, absolutely. The fence needs to be high enough to prevent people simply hopping over it. It would not be in our best interest to allow people just to come and go as they please. So that's kind of pivotal to what we want to do. We want to police that area. We want to control that area. As it stands at the moment, there's quite a lot of antisocial behaviour that takes place in that area, and what we're looking to do is improve that situation.
Oh, because one of the things that we are concerned about is the tannery opposite now houses many vulnerable people, and it would require considerable discipline on their part not to regularly use facilities that you're proposing, I'm not sure that it's in the town's interest that vulnerable people opposite would then be attracted to use this establishment. I don't think it's very responsible in that regard, although I understand you're not responsible for the housing of vulnerable people. I did want to make that point.
Okay, any other representations?
Just a very brief question to Mr. Gregg, if I may. Mr. Gregg, are you also the DSP for Albert Shed? May I know?
DPS, yes.
You are?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other representations? Yep. Can you just state your name, please?
Andrea Bololi. I'm curious to know how you propose to control the noise level in the courtyard.
Through signage requesting that people leave quietly, and in terms of noise that's created in people having a conversation, for example, certainly environmental protection are satisfied that it would not increase above those levels which are normally there, certainly on the later times on a Friday and a Saturday, which is why they requested that we amend those hours, which we willingly did. So it won't go past 11 o'clock during the week.
But you yourself in Albert Shed had a sign saying there's no point in asking you to leave quietly, because if you weren't interested in living near premises that had late night noise, then you shouldn't have moved here. It's documented in a photograph that was circulated on social media widely a couple of years ago.
Sorry, what was the question?
How are we supposed to believe that you're going to be able to control the noise in the courtyard if you can't control the noise in Albert Shed?
But I feel that we do control the noise at Albert Shed.
Well, I beg to differ. You have an open noise complaint case that is still pending.
I'm not aware of that complaint, sorry.
Excuse me?
I'm not aware of that complaint.
Of course you are.
Beg your pardon, I'm not aware of it.
Excuse me, this is not meant to be going backwards and forwards. You ask a question, you answer it, and then it comes back through the chair. You're interrogating him now, and unfortunately, that's not permitted. So, and you're now going on about other premises. I get
no,
what you may say they're in.
It's completely relevant. It's the same company.
No.
I don't understand how that isn't relevant. And I don't accept that Mr. Gregg doesn't know about the, because he's spoken to Rob Boland on several occasions about it.
Okay, so you've made a question, he's answered it, and so we can infer that what we want.
Actually, you might decide to question whether or not he really does know. He ought to know. He ought to know.
Sorry, Mr. Bibb, have I asked you to speak yet?
Well, I don't think there's much listening going on.
Sorry, have you finished talking to me, or have you got another question?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
But
you made your point, yeah.
My question has not been answered. I'd like that to go into the record.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bibb, did you want to come back on anything, or are you okay now? Okay, thank you. Committee, I've got a question. Have you got one first?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have. The Environmental Protection Officer has some concerns, as I'm sure you know, regarding the opening hours. Is of the opinion that the area to be used after 2300 on Sunday to Thursday is likely to undermine the licensing objective, the prevention of public nuisance. He does say he would remove his objection with immediate effect if the trading hours Sunday to Thursday were modified to close at 2300 hours. Have you considered this, or would you give some consideration to modifying your hours?
Yeah, as I understand it, that's actually already happened. So as soon as
I missed that. I missed it.
So that's a matter of yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then, Mr. Gregg. So on a Friday and Saturday night, when you close at 3, your door supervisors are then kept on for an extra half an hour to ensure that it's all closed up and everybody moves on. Now, I noticed that there's no such requirement at 11 o'clock on a Sunday to Thursday. And from what I read all the papers, is it just suddenly ceases at 11 and miraculously everybody's got to go. What do you intend doing at 11 o'clock to ensure that the premises, or rather, it's all closed down and nobody's there?
A dispersal policy, which basically means that people are encouraged to leave. They're encouraged to leave quietly, whilst also ensuring that there's nobody vulnerable. Or, as an example, it could be somebody that's split up from their friends and might be a bit worse for wear. It's no different to dispersal policies that we have in place at all of our kind of bricks and mortar venues, for want of a better phrase.
So they can be served alcohol at 5 to 11, yes?
Yes.
So how do they drink that at 11 o'clock?
To be perfectly honest, Mr. Chair, we probably wouldn't go to 11 o'clock anyway. It's there, so
when the business has gone, you close up and pack up.
It's there, so we've got that flexibility. When applying for a licence, it's always better to ask for the biggest range of permissions as possible. Whether we'd actually use those or not is a completely different matter. If we felt that we would struggle to ensure that the dispersal policy was met, then we would make an operational decision that just because we're licensed till 11 p.m. doesn't mean that we would sell alcohol right up to 11 o'clock.
Because your door supervisors won't be there after 11.
Door supervisors are there according to a risk assessment, so if the level of trade was such that we felt it was necessary to use door supervisors, then we would do. If not, then it would be up to the staff who are trained to ensure that those dispersal policies are followed anyway. That's no different to any licensed premise. It's very, very rare to have security staff on duty every hour that the venue's open.
Okay, so moving on to the seating. What sort of seating are you going to have? Is it all fold up and put away and stack up and chain up? Or is it going to be permanently sitting there so that when you close, or are you going to have gates on these two entrances that you describe so that at least the premises appears locked up and that any member of the public knows that after 11 o'clock, Sunday to Thursday, that it's not a public place that can go and sit down and cause any noise?
Yes, when we initially looked at this project, we have got access to some storage within Rowley's house, but it isn't really adequate to put the furniture in. So the decision was made that the furniture would stay out, but there will be gates installed on the gaps in the fence, and that will be locked at night. Not only to deter people from entering the courtyard, but also for the security of obviously our fixtures and fittings, which will remain in there, which is why we've also got 24/7 CCTV coverage.
So on a Friday and a Saturday after 11 o'clock and before 3, the seating is to be used only for people queuing up and waiting for food. Once they've got the food, they then move off because it's a takeaway facility. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And during those times, there's a condition on the proposed licence that we will have security staff on duty. So part of their job at that time of night will be to ensure that, for argument's sake, a couple of tables are used. We don't want people kind of congregated in the area that late at night.
Because that's going to be ever so confusing to members of the public that they're there with a means of purchasing food. They're sitting on a seat waiting for it, and the minute they've got it in their hand, they can't go back and sit on that seat. Will there be any signage to that effect?
Yes, signage is a possibility, but also we use our staff to communicate that. If it was an issue, then we wouldn't use any tables at all. It was just for a convenience thing, really. The idea would be, like any takeaway, is to get people served and allow them to then move on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Gregg. Yeah, it's a takeaway. What sort of packaging is the food going to be allowed to take away, and what type of food? Can I ask, please?
Yeah, that's details haven't been decided on yet, but in very loose terms, what we're looking to do is invite a selection of different kind of street food traders to offer more variety that's currently available in the area. In terms of packaging, it would be recyclable where possible and suitable for the food that we serve.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So this is the part where the people who made representations get their opportunity to say anything. So if I go first to Christopher Bibb, thank you.
Thank you. Just with regard to the recycling of the cartons, they would first need to be picked up. And if people move away, they're probably going to be dropped elsewhere in the town. And the town has already proved itself incapable of picking up the litter. It's probably the dirtiest town, well, certainly that I'm aware of. How is this going to do anything other than to further contribute to the disgraceful state of the town? It will constitute a nuisance. And I thank Councillor Eden for beginning that theme.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to say as a sort of long statement? Because then I've got people that I've got to ask in an order.
Sure, of course. I still think there's a pecuniary interest, and I do not see how that it can be effectively policed without very strict fencing, and presumably that will be reflected in the planning application.
Thank you. Licensing officer, any comment on that?
No comments, Chair.
Applicant, any comments on what Mr. Bibb has said in his statement?
Only that we have voluntarily included a condition on that licence that there will be a sweep of litter in the immediate area, both prior to and after trade, and also during, which is something that we already do at Albert Shed and Barker Street. So at the end of the night, staff will go outside and they'll sweep the pavement outside the venue.
Yes, that's good. I already have lots of images of how much litter is left outside the premises most Sunday mornings. So I applaud your hope to do that, but you're not achieving it currently with the premises that you already have.
Okay, thank you. Committee, any questions, Mr. No. Okay. Caroline John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there are an awful lot of matters to be considered at the planning stage, which of course are not going to be addressed here. May I ask another matter of, I'm sorry, I'm a complete process twonk. This is the way I am. This is the way I live my career. Are the statements that have been made by Mr. Gregg today as DSP binding in terms of his operation of this site or not, please?
Any other questions? Because there is a list of what I go through. Maybe the licensing officer can answer that, but you need to make your statement first.
The rest of my objection stands. I completely concur with my colleague that this town is a mess. The unbelievable muck under the benches that were removed from Pride Hill simply because people bought from Gregg's and went quite legitimately to sit out there and eat, and all the grease underneath those benches was beyond belief. We are the messiest people on the planet, and I think that we have to get our heads around that and deal with that so that premises can operate reasonably and safely and decently in this town and make money and be prosperous and provide facilities for us all. But we haven't reached that stage yet. I think that concludes my views.
Okay, thank you. Licensing officer, any comment on that?
Yeah, anything to discuss today is obviously the applicant's put across his proposal, but anything that's been put up on today that you think needs binding or the committee think needs binding should be put on the licence as a condition. So then that condition then is a condition of the premises licence. if it's conditions agreed, so if is there anything specific that you believe is not been put forward so far that the committee should consider, I would suggest you put that forward now to the committee to consider.
Well, I can't remember everything that Mr. Gregg has said, but he has said some really useful things. And I don't know whether what he has said today constitutes another formal commitment, because, you know, he's got the application, we've got the conditions, and now we've got other information. So this is process for you. And clearly Mr. Gregg wants to come in and ask, so I will defer.
Anything else?
No, again, just to confirm, so that the committee are here, they're listening, and they may propose more conditions. And if there's anything specific that he has said that hasn't been put forward on these conditions, like I said, that's a good chance.
Can I finish? Is the key thing. Oh, I'm so sorry.
If there's anything you'd like to put forward, like there's been just mention of fencing where I've just been speaking about, then that's for you to put forward. So if there's a condition that you think is specific to say he's mentioned fencing and we believe that should be a condition on the licence and it should be this tall, this wide, that's then you can put forward. So yes, the applicant's mentioned fencing. Is it on the licence? So if the licence were to get granted in 4 weeks' time and we were to go out as officer to look at it, if it's not specifically on there as a licensing concern, then no, it's not going to be a condition. So please, anything that's been mentioned, speak up.
Yes, well, fencing is a big thing because I don't think it can be properly policed without. And listening to the applicant, I can see that there's an intent to do that, but it would require the fencing probably similar to that that's installed near 10 and Sixpence, which is about 100 metres from the relevant site.
I think also that policing can be policing with a small p as well as a big P. It doesn't have to be done by the police.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, the applicant, have you got anything to say about those comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Only that, as far as I'm aware, anything that I've agreed to or mentioned or described in the meeting today has simply been a reflection of what's already in those agreed conditions. Specifically with regard to the fence, I don't think there's any conflict there. We want exactly the same as you do. We want a substantial fence. Obviously, the details of that fence are not in the application, just it is marked on the plan. So as far as I'm aware, that would mean there has to be a fence because we've put that on the plan. If a condition was put on stating it had to be a certain height, then I'm pretty certain it would be what we would intend to do anyway, because our aims are the same, to enable us to control access to that site. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee?
Mr. You refer to another premise that's not far away from the Rose House. What fencing have they got in place at the moment? Because I'm not local, so
Understood. I do have some photographs of it, but it is really rather substantial. It's the sort of thing you might find in a zoo with gorillas the other side. It's very substantial fencing. And I think that is, as the applicant has said himself, it needs to be high enough so that people can't pop over it, either getting in or getting out. So I think that you could walk over later and see it. It's not far from the relevant site, but it's about six feet tall, very sturdy steel fencing. It's not unattractive, although
I think we need to be mindful that we may be able to suggest or have a fence, but that we are sort of going into planning where they'll dictate what the fence is, because I think it's a listed building, isn't it? Yep. So
thank you, Chair. If I could just come back on that as well, I think it's important to bear in mind the fact that this is a temporary arrangement with Shropshire Council leasing this area on a very short-term basis. So as much as I would like to put a fence up similar to the one you described at 10 and 6, I know that was quite a substantial investment, and I think we need to be realistic about what we're trying to do. 10 and 6 is a permanent structure that they own. This is an area which we are hoping to lease off Shropshire Council and try and improve the area of the town. So I have to be honest and say that we would aim to put a substantial fence up, but I think realistically it would not be the same as what you describe at 10 and 6 because it simply wouldn't be viable.
I think it's important that there's no inconsistency between what's required at one premise and another 100 metres away. And policing is very important. I accept all that the applicant said. It makes sense, but you still need a substantial fence. Otherwise, it's a danger to the public.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Andrea Lowley?
Yeah, thank you. I just have one question. How long is the lease intended to be for?
If I've got to go through the structure, so licensing officer, do you want to no comment on that? Have you?
No comment.
Applicant, then thank you.
No comment.
Well, how do I find out?
If the applicant isn't prepared to comment on how long the lease is, it might have business connotations, then we have to go with what's said. There's no point asking me how I find out because I don't know.
Well, where is the information available?
This is a licensing committee. I don't know. So that needs to be taken out. Sorry.
The lease, that's something like the chair said, it's a commitment between the applicant and the landowner. It's not something that's been put forward on the application, so it's not something that we've got access to or we can comment. If the applicant won't answer the question, we can't make him answer the question.
Mr. John, you've actually had your, it depends whether, is there any relevance? Because if it's just reiterating what's already gone.
I'm craving your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, and I will be brief. I am disappointed in the process that this involves because I don't think it serves the public well. I suspect that is not the responsibility of Shropshire Council. It is something that we should lock
This isn't a question. I'm going to have to say that's it then. Thank you. There's not a question there. No, you've told me that you're not happy with the process. You've said that several times and that is noted.
And I'm not happy either that we didn't have any declaration of pecuniary interest.
Thank you. If you can turn your microphone off now, thank you very much. There is actually closing remarks and you can actually say that within that. So we've not finished yet. We've got closing remarks yet. Thank you. Right, committee, anything you want to say on that? No, fine, thank you. Each party will now be permitted a brief opportunity to make any closing remarks. This should not be a repeat of the case already made or discussions during the questions, but you may have some point to clarify or additional comments as a result of the questions and discussion. If you have nothing further to say, then you don't need to speak. So, licensing officer.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to reiterate why you're here today. So you're here today to consider and determine the application. To do this, you must give appropriate weight to the steps that are necessary to promote the 4 licensing objectives, any representations, the 182 guidance, the Licensing Act 2003, and Shropshire Council's licensing policy 24 to 29. You then may grant the application in full or in part, subject to such conditions deemed necessary and appropriate in relation to the 4 licensing objectives, or you can refuse the application again if you deem it necessary and appropriate. Your decision must be justified and provide supporting information to all parties involved, and that decision can be appealed within 21 days of all parties receiving the decision notice. That's it. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. So, persons making representations, if I start with Mr. Bibb, if you want to make any closing statements, thank you.
Nothing further to say.
Thank you. Caroline John.
I think I have nothing further to say except to thank you for being a strict chair of this meeting.
Self? Okay, thank you. And the applicant then, thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that obviously Riley's mansion courtyard, it's a high profile location. It's visible to large volumes of pedestrian and vehicle traffic. We do truly believe that by activating it with this hospitality offer will significantly improve the public realm and help to foster a more positive impression of the town centre, particularly when you compare it to its current state. I feel that the application supports the broader objectives of Shropshire Council and local partners in creating a vibrant, secure and economically sustainable town centre. And we remain committed to working collaboratively with other stakeholders. I do believe it offers an opportunity to transform what is a neglected area into a positive, well-managed public space by drawing on the experience that we bring to it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any points of clarification the solicitor would like to make?
No points, Chair. Thank you.
We will now withdraw to deliberate and make a decision. The hearing will close and you can leave the meeting. All interested parties will be advised of the decision in writing within 5 working days of this hearing. The decision will be sent to you in the same way you communicated with the licensing team prior to the hearing. E.g., if you emailed your representation to the application, you will receive the decision by email. Any parties who feel aggrieved by the decision of the committee has the right to appeal to the Magistrates' Court. This appeal must be made in writing to Stafford Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the notice being received. Thanks very much, everybody. It's been a lively committee, and I think everybody has had opportunity to get across what they wanted to say. Thank you very much.